Welcome to Popternative, where we dive into topical discussions from the worlds of pop culture, social media, and sports. Here is your host, Peter Remoliotis, aka PD Beats.
Hello and welcome to the Popternative Podcast, the podcast and talk show where we have digital discussions from the worlds of social media, pop culture, TV, film, sports, everything really. Depending on the guest, we talk about it all. As always, I'm your host, Peter Remoliotis, and on Twitter and social media, you know me as PD Beats. I'm really excited for this interview. I've been waiting to do this interview for a while. We're finally making it happen, and it's awesome. You'll recognize my guest from Cobra Kai on YouTube. He plays Miguel. We are with Xolo Maridueña. Xolo, welcome to Popternative, man.
Thank you so much for having me, man.
How's the quarantine been for you?
Quarantine's been pretty good. You know, it definitely is a little odd to see the freeways empty here in Los Angeles. Usually, you know, you're taking an hour and a half to get anywhere out here, but you know, as usual, just staying inside, you know, only going out for the groceries and stuff, but really just making sure that I'm making the most of the time and not slacking.
No, absolutely. Whether, you know, you act, you write, you sing, you're all storytellers. When did Xolo decide that he wanted to be a storyteller?
I'd say it was probably actually like a couple of years into actually acting that I realized that this is something that I wanted to do for the rest of my life. I think it was after I worked on this show Parenthood on NBC that it really solidified that this could be a job. Because before it really seemed like it was kind of just like a means to pay for college or a means to go to school. But after working on that show, it really kind of solidified in my mind that I could do this for the rest of my life.
No, absolutely. And, you know, looking now, Cobra Kai, I mean, the last people have seen is season 2. For people who have watched, you know, both seasons of Cobra Kai, the transformation of your character is just phenomenal. And you did a great job with that, man. Talk a little bit about kind of the transformation I'm talking about from season 1, you know, where you start off with the Cobra Kai dojo and you're kind of you're up and coming in terms of being the guy for Cobra Kai. And in season 2, you are the guy, you know what I mean? So it must have been fun to play.
Yeah, I mean, this is by far one of the coolest roles I've ever gotten to do. And I think that just as, you know, Billy Zabka, the guy that plays Johnny in our show and in the original Karate Kid, as he always said, like, he never played his character to be the bad guy. He was just, you know, he never saw him as the villain of the story. And I think in a lot of the same ways, I feel like Miguel is like that. I appreciate the creators and the writers of our show because I feel like at any given time you can vote for both sides. You can root for you know, the Miyagi-Do side and the Cobra Kai side. And I think they really make that blend flawlessly. But with that, you know, Miguel went from being this kid who was shy and I think most of all not really confident in himself, going into a school where he didn't know anybody, going into, you know, a place where he really was not familiar. I think we see throughout the first season how he gains his confidence not only through, you know, his two friends, Eli and Dimitri, but also through Cobra Kai. And I think with that, finding a fatherly figure in Johnny that he didn't really have growing up. And because of that, you know, Johnny is the person he wants to make the most proud. And because of that, he's willing to go above and beyond, like we see at the end of season 1, where he kind of goes a little too far over the edge, but he doesn't feel like he's doing something wrong. He feels like he's making Johnny proud. And he says, like, what do you mean? This is what you taught me, you know, strike hard, strike first, no mercy. Let's do this. And I think you start to see how Johnny feels as if though he's created a little bit of a monster.
I think that my favorite scene is in season 1 where you tell Johnny that you're dating Sam and you find out that it's LaRusso's daughter and he's kind of explaining to you on the sidewalk what happened.
Oh, my girl.
Yeah, and it's just like, that was a wicked scene, I find, because it's literally creating a new narrative for what happened back in the day of the Karate Kid, right?
I love that scene. I also love how they incorporated like footage from the original, and you see like Johnny pushing Daniel LaRusso, and he's like, yeah, man, he was getting in my zone. Like that scene is really fun to film, and also just a little meta thinking about like having a character, you know, reflect on another movie and stuff like that. But nonetheless really enjoyable.
No, absolutely. You mentioned, Eli Dimitri, Eli K. Hawk. Dimitri, played by Gianni. Actually, he's been on my show before, and I went on Instagram Live with him last week. And man, the amount, like the Cobra Kai questions coming in, it's nuts. I mean, think about it. The show, it's you've done it for 2 seasons, you know what I mean? So it's relatively newer, but the fan base for Cobra Kai is nuts. You have like the old original Karate Kid fans, but you also have the new generation, and it's amazing to see the blending, don't you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's really mainly 3 categories that I kind of see people gravitate towards. It's the people who really enjoy the original Karate Kid series, and because of that, they watch this new show. And I think the initial pull was those groups of people who watched the original and were like, "Holy crap, they're bringing back Daniel LaRusso and Johnny Lawrence. I have to watch this show. This is crazy." And then they come to find out like, oh, whoa, there's a lot. It's not, the show doesn't just rely so heavily on nostalgia and these 2 characters, but there's also nuanced, characters here and there. And then I think, a lot of the people who end up enjoying the show are the kids of those people who watch the original and are like, whoa, this is so cool that I get to bond with my dad, with my mom on this show, where I'm able to like the younger cast and they're able to like the older cast, and we're able to kind of come through it together. And I think the third group of people is just people who, everyone uses YouTube, whether it's to learn how to play a song on the piano or watch your favorite gamers or whatever. And I think having it on YouTube really pushed the show on their website. So I thought that was pretty helpful as well. But it really is cool to see not only adults but kids able to bond over the same kind of thing.
What I find really cool too is, Cobra Kai was released, and it's a spin-off of, Karate Kid, which is one of the most like cult following, loved films of all time, you know what I mean? And there's always kind of hesitation and a bit of worry when something is going to be adapted, you know what I mean? Because they have to keep, you know exactly what I'm talking about. They have to keep up with the times and everything. And people maybe were afraid, it wasn't going to feel like the old stuff and it would be cheesy. No way with this at all. Like, you guys hit it out of the park. You know what I mean?
And I think, yes, I couldn't agree more with that. And I think what we have, to our advantage is that our creators, Josh, John, and Hayden, are the biggest Karate Kid fans. Yeah. They didn't do this, for the check. They didn't do this for the cash at the end. But they really did it because they were such big fans of the movies. And because of that, they know all the characters like the back of their hand. And it really is so second nature to them. And I think that's what sets them apart from a couple of these other reboots where it seems as if though they're just made to be a blockbuster and kind of just like a check. Whereas these guys really, for years, they've been thinking of this project. So I think that's the passion is what sets it aside from a couple of different shows. And also just that it's not like they're bringing back new characters every episode and every line is, a callback to the original Karate Kid. Like it's not a remake. It's more of a continuation, which I think definitely helps it as well.
Absolutely. Do you think there's also something to say about the diverse amount of fans in terms of, where people are from? Like it's become a global phenomenon, but also the age demographics, like we kind of talked about, the original fans and the newer fans. Did you kind of picture that it was going to be such a wide range of fans for the show, Xolo?
It wasn't until the first season came out that I realized just how much the original Karate Kid was a part of people's lives. I think had the original Karate Kid not been so crucial to a lot of people who were growing up during that time, like my own parents, adults that I talk to all the time just say how they were like, this movie was my everything. I hear people all the time say like, this is why I joined karate because of this movie, or this is why I did this because of this movie. So I think it wasn't until after the first season came out that I realized like, wow, this movie and now this show is held so close to people's hearts that you really start to see like the passionate fans who are, doing the like conspiracy theories where they're like, this person said this, which means they're related to, it's really crazy seeing just how much people can take from one little piece of the show and just really expand on it. I think it's super awesome.
Obviously, with quarantine and production and everything, it's all up in the air. Obviously, people want a season 3. They're going to be getting a season 3. It's coming. I know you can't say much. Mm-hmm. Is there anything you can say about season 3?
Yeah, I'd say first and foremost, I think it's my favorite season.
Wow.
I think not only, to be quite honest, it's not even like with myself removed just as a fan now of the Karate Kid series and of Cobra Kai. I think that this season really hits it out of the park, because going into season 1, I feel like we didn't really have any expectations. Nobody had eyes on our show, so we had nobody to prove wrong. So I think once people saw that, the expectations were raised, and with the accolades like the 100% on IMDb or whatever, this and this and that, I think with that, the stakes have to be raised. And I think without making it corny or without relying too much on the nostalgia or to bring characters back, I think this season really does show how good our writing is. And with that, just like how the dynamics that you love to see, the Johnny Miguel dynamics, the Daniel Sam, and everything in between, I think really is going to knock it out of the park this season.
Why do you got to say that? I want to see it so badly.
And I will say, with all of this quarantine and stuff like that.
Has it been fully shot?
Yeah. So
okay.
We're unfilming. The show is in the can. They're almost done editing at this point. I think, it was... Actually, I was checking my phone. Sometimes, Instagram will tell you what you were doing on this today a year ago. 2 years ago. On this day last year, we were doing the Cobra Kai season 2 premiere, and on this day 2 years ago, we were doing the season 1 premiere over at Tribeca in New York. So I think it will be a little bit more of a wait because of this pandemic that's ensuing right now. But I think 100% it will be worth it. For some cool reasons, and not only just because of the content of the show, but also some other stuff too. That'll be really cool.
Season 2, the final scene, not the final scene, but the fighting scene, insanity, one of the craziest things on television in the last 5 years, in my opinion. That whole sequence was nuts.
Yeah, it was it took a long. I felt like it took a long time to film, but we filmed the whole thing in 3 days. It was crazy.
Do you feel like that's a misconception though about how sometimes, for example, I've had some people from Orange Is the New Black, and they have some scenes where there's fights around the cells and everything, and those scenes take one scene of a show. Xolo takes 1 full day to shoot. You know what I mean? So that took a long time, right?
It's crazy, we film over in Atlanta in a show that films during the same time as Stranger Things, and we have some people going back and forth on the crew side. Specifically, our stunt coordinator Hito is the stunt coordinator for Stranger Things, and he's like, dude, we just spent a week on this one sequence just because they film more than half of the year. So it's just
That's wild, isn't it?
With our show, it's kind of the opposite. He has to practice the opposite, where it's especially with those school fight scenes, we film those at a college. And they were like, yo, you have to film this stuff on the weekend because during the week we have students here. So everything that you want to get filmed, you have to film in 4 days. One of those days, since it was a college, there was a hospital connected to it for the med students. One of those days was dedicated to all of the hospital stuff. Me at the very end, Sam in the hospital, Daniel and Johnny in the elevator together. That was all 1 day. 1 day was all of the the oneer took 1 whole day, and then just montage stuff running. We had to actually film scenes in the school, just talking to certain people and stuff. And then the last day was cramming. We had to do me falling off the ledge. We had to do all of the upstairs stuff. The Eli and Hawk fight was all done that day. So it's just but they made it happen, and I think it was genuinely, I think it was one of the coolest fights of any like season finale, definitely in the past like couple of years, but maybe even, hopefully it stands the test of time for years to come.
Kind of crazy how the whole show ended, and it's just like people, like literally people were in awe of what happened, and I'm sure people on social media, like I'm sure you saw, it was probably insanity, it was craziness, the uncertainty of everything,
the uncertainty, and really just the shock value of
what happened.
what happens, and then not only after that, but then you see Kreese takes over the dojo, and you're like, oh my gosh, just when I thought it couldn't get any worse, Johnny got his whole life taken away from him, and then he gets the text from Ali. So it really is just.
Oh, the text from Ali! I forgot about that. Oh my god!
It's just like thing after thing, and you're like, oh my god,
dude! I forgot about the text from Ali.
Yeah,
that was wild.
Into season 3, there's a lot of questions to be answered, and a lot of plot lines to be developed, so it's going to be really awesome.
Amazing. Well, Xolo, thank you so much for joining me at Popternative. I'm really happy we were finally able to make this interview happen, man.
This was perfect.
Absolutely. Where can people follow you on social media to keep up to date with everything?
Yeah, my everything actually is just my first and last name with an underscore in the middle, so that's XOLO _MARIDUENA, and that's the Instagram, Twitter, all of it.
Absolutely. We'll hope you're staying safe during this quarantine, and we can't wait for season 3 of Cobra Kai to drop on YouTube Premium. Once it's out, we can't wait, man. But thank you so much for doing this.
Awesome. Thank you so much, brother.
No problem. Well, this has been Popternative, youtube.com/Popternative for previous episodes. And until next time, this is Xolo Maridueña and Petey Beats signing off.
Thank you for tuning in to Popternative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popternative on YouTube. Be sure to like Popternative on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.